Hello, hello, welcome back. And today we're talking about this most amazing book, Melania. Yes, if you guys haven't read that yet, I'll give you the whole rundown on it. So you don't have to read it. If you don't want to, you can kind of get the synopsis. Or maybe this will give you enough good teasers that you'll love to go and get the book yourself and read it for yourself. It is really so good. So we'll get into it. But first, I have to turn my lamp on. All right. So she starts off, it's a memoir of her whole growing up, her formative years, her whole, life story, and how we are today, or how we come to know her today. And I'm not sure if I love the lamp. It made it dark. All right, so we'll do it this way. So she starts off, it's a wonderful introduction, and she talks about, her childhood, and then this one thing really stuck to me when she came to the US for the first time for modeling, and the guy who stamped her passport said, "Welcome to the United States." And just reading it, it made me realize how proud and grateful we should be to be an American. Like, it is amazing. We don't realize what we have. Other people in other countries realize it because they don't have the things we do that we take for granted. But it's so poignant. You should look up the poem. You don't have to, but it's one of my favorites. I had to memorize it in school, and I only have bits and pieces memorized now. But it's about America and how America is so different from every other nation. And one of the stanzas go, and London is a man's town. There's power in the air. And Paris is a woman's town. There's flowers in her hair. And it's great to go to Venice, and it's great to study Rome. But when it comes to living, there is no place like home. And then the resounding lyrics is, and it's home again, America for me. And it keeps going, and it's just such a beautiful patriotic feeling. And it's like, yes, that is exactly what it feels like, because the old world is so antiquated, and you can feel the oldness and the tiredness. Whereas in the new world, everything is still young, and the land hasn't been, used so much. And there's just this youthful vigor here, and the freedom. And anyways, you'll have to look up that poem. I'll try to put it in the Dropbox or the description box below. But anyway, so now she's talking about when she came to New York and she was getting into the taxi. And I just love the imagery that she uses in her words. So I'm going to read it out. He opened the door. I stepped into the back seat. I felt a sense of relief to be away from the noisy chaos of the curb. The interior of the limousine exuded elegance. I felt an immediate sense of comfort and ease. And I was like, what a beautiful imagery of words. I love words, and I love it when people can paint pictures like that. And then she says, reflecting on that pivotal day in my life, I recognize the profound significance of the decision to move to New York. Now I am struck by my youthful confidence. Life's circumstances shape you in many ways, often entirely beyond your control, like your birth, parental influences, and the world in which you grew up. But as an adult, and I have this all underlined, but as an adult, there comes a moment when you become solely responsible for your life, where you become solely responsible for the life you lead. You must take charge, embrace that responsibility, and become the architect of your own future. And I was like, that is so beautiful. Write that out, guys, and really meditate on it. There is a lot she put into those two sentences. So I kind of wrote down what I would do if I was the architect of my own life. Like, what would I be doing more? And it would definitely be, cultivating relationships, spending time with more people, calling the people that I should be and spending time with, instead of being like, oh, there's so much other things that I should be doing or can be getting done and things like that. And putting God first, going to church, those types of things. And the other thing that I wrote down for that is that I should say what I'm doing and then do it. Not in a permission way, but just letting people know but just going for the things, that I want. And I want that for you guys too. Just say the thing and go for it. So yeah, what is it for you guys? And I love how she said that, and become the architect of your own future, because she was in architecture in college or in university. And I just think it's so funny because I was also in architecture. I took architectural drafting and design, which is the place that I still work at and do. So I thought that was cool. Then talking about her mother, she says, "My mother was the epitome of elegance. She often emphasized that self-care was essential not only to a person's well-being, but also to be able to effectively care for others. And she instilled this conviction in me from an early age, teaching me the importance of attending to one's appearance before venturing into the world. I have always found joy in the process of making myself presentable and getting ready. If I don't take care of myself," she would say, her mother, "how would I know how to care for others?" And I was like, such a good point, Because what do we see nowadays? It's like if you're totally run down and look super haggard and everything, then you're seen as, oh man, you're just taking care of everybody and that's why you don't have time to care for yourself. When really, no. If you can't take care of yourself, how in the world are you taking care of anybody else? At least to a good degree, It's like you're giving your leftovers. And I thought that was a really good point. Or even like mothers. I honestly don't think that a mother who looks like super like haggard and has let herself go for her kids is really the better mother than the one who, also takes care of herself. Because when you feel good and you're happy, it's so easy to take care of other people. Whereas when you're not, the resentment just like goes through the roof. And I know that because I'm that way. But yeah, it was just a very interesting mind shift that I have not heard anybody else say. Yeah, and as a child, when she's talking about her childhood, she's like, I'll read my notes. As a child, she delighted in playing with Barbie and dressing her in handmade outfits. She said it brought her hours of enjoyment and fostered her imagination. She also loved a red race car model her father got for her. And with him being very much into cars, she developed quite the depth of knowledge about vehicles, or cars. She also said music was another significant aspect of her life. She says, and I quote, "While listening to my favorite records, I would immerse myself in the delightful stories and gorgeous illustrations of my Marinka books, Marinka, allowing myself to be transported to a magical land that fueled my imagination and encouraged me to dream big." And another part about her childhood, she said, is that her family hired a private nanny for them instead of sending to kindergarten. And those things molded her. And I just thought that was a beautiful thing. And I quote again, another part. She says, "As a child, I demonstrated a strong sense of organization, orderliness, and methodical approach in all my projects. I possessed a keen curiosity and diligent work ethic. I had a genuine passion for learning. My fascination with different cultures and distant lands led me to pick up multiple languages. As a hard worker, I always strived for the best. I understood from a young age that studying and learning were the keys to success, and I took great pride in consistently earning good grades. I also did gymnastics and sports." And so, there, end quote. Take note of those things that were her qualities, and if you can have those qualities, not that you want to be more like her, but you can have that same, it's like what Tony Robbins says, like see what a successful person does, whether they're successful in their health or relationships or money or whatever. And if you follow exactly what they've done, you will achieve the same results. Like if you eat like a Victoria's Secret model, you'll probably, and you exercise like her and have the same routine like her and take care of yourself like her, you'll more than likely end up looking pretty decently like one. And so it's the same thing. If we can incorporate those things other people do to become who they've become, We all have those seeds of greatness inside of us. We only see the greatness in someone else because we have that inside of us too. So remember that. And I liked reading all those things because I was like, oh, I do those things too. Another thing about her, she was saying, is I learned that regardless of the circumstances or the company I found myself in, the most crucial relationship I could cultivate was with myself. Each individual is on their own unique journey, and it is essential to be grounded in one's own identity and values. I embrace my individuality and confidently walk my own path. I have that sentence underlined. Each generation experiences the mean kids in school. She says, I was often targeted for my appearance, being perceived as too tall and too skinny. I undoubtedly stood out. In retrospect, I realized that most of this behavior was fueled by their insecurities. I was like, wow, this is so good. So most people's behavior is fueled by their insecurities. It says more about them than it does about you, okay? Remember that. She says, I rose above it by maintaining a strong sense of self and confidence in my accomplishments. So maintaining a strong sense of self and confidence in your accomplishments. She would say, I would simply shrug and think, whatever, it's their problem, not mine. She says, I have come to understand that genuine happiness is not found in material possessions, but rather in the depth of self-awareness and self-acceptance. This realization has become my compass, leading me toward a life enriched with authenticity, confidence, and inner peace. Okay, now I love the imagery of this, so I'm going to quote what she said. Among the most cherished experiences of my youth were on the annual summer trips to the Dalmatian coast of Croatia. The picturesque towns of Split, Zadar, and Dubrovnik left an indelible mark on me. I can still vividly recall running barefoot on cool, polished cobblestone streets, worn smooth by the passage of countless generations. In the evenings, we would venture out for gelato, the sea breeze carrying the sweet scent of the ocean. The sound of music drifted through the air, creating a harmonious backdrop to the laughter of children playing in the streets. These moments filled me with a sense of wonder and freedom. The world seemed limitless, brimming with love and beauty. End quote. How beautiful is that? I could totally feel that. You know, when you can just think of those evenings, those balmy evenings, and where you're at and in this beautiful place, and you just feeling your heart so open and just life seems so good. Oh, what a wonderful, beautiful thing to think on. Oh my. And then she, instead of opting for a high school close to home, determined to push herself into something more stimulating and challenging, and gained entry into the renowned secondary school for design and photography at just 15. Admission was fiercely competitive, with only a select few students accepted each year. She chose to pursue a degree in industrial design. She said, I have always valued my independence, so when the opportunity arose to move to a big city, I was eager to branch out. My parents were supportive of my decision, understanding the importance of fostering my success. When I took the rigorous entrance exam for the Faculty of Architecture at the University of Ljubljana, I don't know how to say the capital of Slovenia. It's LjubljanA, and was accepted. She says, I now had my mind set to be an architect. Then, getting hired by a modeling agency in Milan, I had to make a choice. I trusted in my abilities and made the move. I thought that was beautiful. And I could totally resonate with that because I accomplished lots of things when I was very young and very competitive things, like going to nationals and speech and debate. And anyways, there's more to my story. I have my story as one of my first videos ever on this channel. And it would be kind of embarrassing to go back and look at, but you guys might enjoy that. But anyways, continuing. Sometimes in order to succeed, You must be willing to take risks and make tough decisions. You need to trust yourself and your abilities and never settle for anything less than what you deserve. You need to trust yourself and your abilities and never settle for anything less than what you deserve. The path to success may not always be easy, but with determination and courage, you can achieve your dreams. And then talking about her life in modeling, she would say, for every job secured by one model, hundreds of others are turned away. Sometimes the client would be looking for a blonde, sometimes a brunette. Sometimes you're too skinny or too curvy. Sometimes, many times, there's no discernible reason at all. Your exterior is being judged constantly. It is a brutal criticism that comes with being a model. To survive in the industry requires a high level of confidence, resilience, and determination. She says, I understood that setbacks were to be expected and was intent on never taking rejection personally. I understood that it had little to do with who I was as a person. I maintained a positive attitude and stayed dedicated. She stayed intent on her career goals and didn't indulge in excess or drinks and drugs. And then the co-owner of a modeling agency in New York discussed opportunities of her coming to the US. And talking about him, I loved how she described him. And I think we should keep an eye for these qualities in people too. So I quote, I found him to be straightforward and serious, qualities I valued in a professional partner. And then she says, after securing my work visa, my professionalism and punctuality won over clients. So remember that, two very simple things, okay guys, that are so important that most people do not have. So if you take anything from this video, try to incorporate more in your life of professionalism and punctualism, because that helped her rise to success. And that will help in any area of life, honestly. And then she tells the love story of how she met Donald J. Trump and the whole story behind it. This is my favorite part. I wrote it all out because I love this part. So when she first met Donald, she was at this big event and she almost didn't go because she had just flown back from a modeling gig in Paris or somewhere in Europe. And so she was all jet lagged and tired and everything. But her friend was like, no, come on, you have to come. So she went. And so I was like, okay, guys, remember, if you really don't want to do something, don't do it. But there's a lot to be gained from just saying yes, instead of saying no all the time. Sometimes, if there's a little nudge in your heart that says yes, try it, or go do it, or yeah, go to the party or whatever, do it. And anyways, so when she first met Donald, he said, hi, I'm Donald Trump, nice to meet you. And so she said, hello, I replied, I'm Melania. And so I'm going to be reading what she had written. His eyes filled with curiosity and interest as he asked about my time in New York, Slovenia, and travel. I was captivated. There was so much bustling activity around us, but his intent focus on our interaction made me feel like the center of his world. It was a refreshing departure from the usual superficial small talk. He asked for my number. I politely declined. He was a little surprised. Give me your number, I said. I'll give you my number if you promise to call me, he said. So the next evening I called and was met by the answering machine. It was his home number and his voice. So I left a message saying, hello, it's Melania. I promised to call you. I hope you are well, and left my number. He called back later that evening. Why didn't you call sooner? I was thinking about you. It was that same voice, warm, friendly, strong. He sounded happy that I actually called him. The connection was palpable. I would love to see you, he said before we hung up. His words were so genuine and warm. He called the next day and went on a date that weekend. He picked me up and we chatted about our lives, our dreams, and our experiences. So there, if you guys are ever wondering what to talk about on a date, Those are some good ones. He was so easy to talk to and genuinely interested in everything. He told me all about his business and his love for golf. It was refreshing to meet someone so successful yet so down to earth. It was a beautiful ride, just the two of us. His love for driving was obvious, and I shared that same passion. It was clear that his work was his passion. He didn't separate it from the rest of his life. It was all just one big, exciting thing to him. Even our date was a mix of work and pleasure. I have in my notes that I was like, I don't know if I would like that so much, but it works. So anyways, she continues, saying maybe he saw me as someone he could have more in-depth conversations with. It was nice to feel we were on the same wavelength. Perhaps he saw me as more of a peer than the woman he was used to spending time with. He casually mentioned his family and that he was in the process of divorce. I refrained from passing any judgment, choosing instead to enjoy his company. And I have this part underlined. He was a bit older than me, but I, at 28, felt an instant connection to him. After returning home, I was giddy with joy. It's truly a rare feeling, I have this underlined too, to instantly connect with someone on such a deep level. I was immediately at ease in Donald's company, as if our souls had known each other for a long time. Our connection felt natural. The public only sees a part of him. In private, he revealed himself as a gentleman, displaying tenderness and thoughtfulness. I was drawn to his organizational skills, his mindset, and his good taste. We agreed on living a healthy life, which was evident in our abstinence from alcohol and tobacco. We had so much in common, and I had no doubts about him. But I believed in taking things one step at a time in our relationship. We both agreed to take the time to get to know each other gradually, ensuring we were truly aligned. And as a side note, she says she also appreciates her parents not pushing her ever to be married, but to take the time to express, her own individuality and life on her own before family. The media soon caught wind of our romance, she says. The media's fascination was both flattering and annoying. They couldn't see past the 24-year age difference. They labeled me as a gold digger, insinuating my affection was just for his wealth. And I have this underlined. Such baseless accusations could never tarnish the love and connection we shared. His age was never a concern for me. His energy and zest for life made us feel like we were on the same wavelength. I entertained the idea of setting the record straight, but it would be a waste of time because their opinions wouldn't be swayed. There's a saying, I forget what it is, that those who mind don't matter and those... Anyways, that saying? Those who mind don't matter. So she says, I instead focused my energy and time on positive endeavors. One evening in 2004, we were preparing to attend the Met Gala. I was all set in a stunning Versace couture dress that he had bought me. As we were about to leave, he surprised me with a beautiful ring. I love you, he whispered softly. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. My heart was ready to burst. I felt like the luckiest woman. And I was like, that is such a sweet, sweet, sweet story. Oh my. I never knew that before. Anyways, so then later on, she gives some of her tips on being a stepmother, and I thought these were really good. She says, my approach to building relationships with Donald's children has always been grounded in love and respect. I recognize their individuality, knowing as a stepmother, my job is not to replace their mother, but to nurture a supportive and amicable connection. I may not agree with every choice or decision they make, but I acknowledge different viewpoints are a natural aspect of human relationships. It is essential to remember that each person is deserving of respect and understanding, regardless of disagreements. I have focused on building an environment where everyone feels free to express themselves authentically. And I was like, how beautiful. How many people do that, actually? Rather than imposing my views or critiquing others, I have aimed to be a steady presence and someone they can rely on. In many relationships, I firmly believe the principle, don't control, communicate. And I would love to have that drilled in my mind. That communication is really the key. Don't control, communicate. I understand being possessive is not conducive to a healthy family dynamic. Each member requires their own space. And she says, and I have made it a priority to respect that need, even for myself. I was like, that is so good. And then on some later pages, she says, once I became a mom, the allure of glamorous photo shoots and a jet-setting lifestyle no longer held sway over me, as my heart was captivated by the joy of nurturing and raising my son. And then another point she made was financial independence is a core value of mine. I have never been one to sit idly by, even with the comfort of a successful husband. So when Baron started preschool, I started designing and selling my line of jewelry. And ever since being a young teenager, I was into taking care of my skin and natural products, which is why I started my skincare line. And anyways, I just thought that was so cool. Like, how many people take care of their skin from a young age? But when you do that, you can get to look like her when you're older, right? I think that's really cool. And I also remember that I was that way too. Since 13, I would like study as much as I could on skincare and like what to do and how to live and all these things, so I didn't have any regrets when I got older. So anyways, I would love to meet her someday. Oh my. And then on page, I won't give you the page number. Oh my, I don't know why I wrote that. She was talking about, so these are the pages that I kind of had some agreements and disagreements, but of course everyone can take things their own way, and I don't need to agree with everything everybody says, obviously. So you guys can take your own opinions from the rest of this. But I agree in some aspects. She talks about the positive feeling towards like nudity. And I was like, yes, in private, maybe, no, I believe that women should not be ashamed of themselves, but I don't know if it's something that you necessarily need to flaunt to the world. It's like if I had like a whole bunch of rubies and emeralds and gems and stuff, I wouldn't be like putting it out for just everybody to look at and gawk at, you know what I mean? It's like, keep them covered and in your drawer and safe and all that, But that's just my take. So she was saying that those photos were not a source of shame for me. My upbringing in Europe had fostered a different perspective on nudity, a more open and accepting attitude. The female form was once revered and honored in Western culture. Historically, artists produced magnificent paintings and sculptures that exalted the female figure. Nudity was a medium in which humanity was elevated and celebrated. I believed then, as I do now, that women should take pride in their bodies, not feel shame. And that I definitely agree with. You should not feel shame. I mean, think of it from like the guy's point of view. If he's wanting to like your husband like look at you and enjoy you, but you're just like so like embarrassed, so you just like want to be under the covers and not even let him see you, like that's not really enjoyable, you know what I mean? Like, think of yourself if you were the guy. You're not going to be looking at all her flaws and stuff. You're just going to be like, oh my, I have like this beautiful creature, and you just like want to enjoy looking at it. Same as like we enjoy looking at paintings or a waterfall or something, much less the epitome of creation, which is a woman. So I did agree with that last part. And then my only kind of disagreements with the rest, which is just kind of funny because her husband like runs on a totally different or the opposite campaign, is that she is pro-abortion and pro-LGBTQ+. And the thing where I understand where people like to be pro-abortion, but abortion is really like a horrible like act if you think of, or not if you think of, but if you actually study like what actually happens in an abortion. Like when I was younger, I thought you just like put them to sleep, like when you put your dog to sleep at the vet, when they're old. But it's actually quite a brutal process, where they're tearing the child apart or, cracking its head open or sucking all its fluids out or killing it in a painful death with like saline procedures. But I know she knows all those things, so I know people come at these things from a different angle. But all in all, like, what were those things? Maybe two things that I was like, maybe, I don't exactly agree with, but it was such a good book, honest. And I got it for Christmas, and I read it like in 4.5 hours on Christmas. And you guys don't need to compete with that. Take your time to enjoy the book. I was also taking all these notes through it. Like all kinds of notes. I had 2 pages of notes. Well, 4 pages front and back. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know down below what your biggest takeaways were. And yeah, let me know what you think. I would love to know your thoughts, so comment below. Give this video a like. It really does help me. I'll wait for you. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I'll see you guys in the next one.